Hi, my name is Cliff Chafin, and I run Chapel Math Tutor. I am the only employee as well. So I started this about 12 years ago, and I finished grad school. I met the woman I was going to marry, and I was looking for other things, and I put out a shingle to try to make some money while I was looking around, and before I knew it, I had a full-time job. So I'm still doing it, and I like it quite a bit. But I do have some information I want to share with parents and kids. So, first of all, I work with homeschoolers, and I work with kids in the public school, and I work with local college kids. Um, for my younger kids, sort of depends. Some of them are just precocious; they're just ahead, and they want to do competitions like the EMC test, or they just don't want to be bored. I have a whole bunch of kids who've come to me just because they like math and they don't want to be bored and they don't want to lose their interest, or their parents felt that way about them. There's a bunch of people who also have sort of been lost, and things are getting worse and worse, and we can talk about that. I have a lot I can say about it. Um, uh, with the homeschoolers, I can build whole programs for them. Some of them, instead of them going 5 days a week for calc or pre-calc at the public school, I'll meet with them once a week, maybe 1 hour a week, and we'll do the entire book, and they can do great on the AP exam. That's pretty typically what happens. So it's a lot more fun and a lot less time, and I'm a big fan of that method. So now, if you are new to the district, I do have some stuff to talk about. People always talk about teachers being underpaid. I looked up the other day a friend I hadn't seen in like 25 years. I think he was going into acting, and I found out that he was a school teacher up near Asheville. Maybe it is Asheville. And he been doing it for 23 years now, and his salary popped up when I did a Google search of his name, and it was about 62,000 a year, which is about the top salary you get according to the salary schedule in North Carolina for 25 plus years of experience with a bachelor's degree and teacher certification. So that's rough. I mean, Wake and Orange do a bit of a salary bump, but compared to the cost of living, it's pretty ridiculous. I know of one teacher in the district who works in the Chapel schools and is not married and lives in Chapel Hill. And that was because a friend of mine found her a broken down condo and helped fix it up before the prices went up. She's been a career teacher for a long time. I'm not sure she's going to stay much longer. So, the salaries are bad. The working conditions aren't great. And a lot of parents are upset. Now, if you're not from here, the first thing I want to tell you is be very leery of the placement that the district wants to do with your kid. There is a good chance it's too low and your kid's going to be bored and you won't be able to change it. They do have this method for bumping your grade up at the end of the year called the CDM, Demonstrated Mastery, but I will tell you this is a rigged system. Kids who pass the class and ace it would rarely be able to pass that CDM test. I mean, there's an initial test and then a second test. They make it in-house. Nobody can ever see it. Presumably it's being graded correctly, though that can't be taken for granted anymore. They're not going to let you see any of your tests probably. You don't get graded homework. And you often get nothing, no feedback anymore at all. When I started doing this, at least you were getting your tests back. Or at least then you could see your test. Then maybe you could see it at lunch. But you certainly can't take any notes on it or take a picture of it. Presumably because they were going to reuse the tests. I honestly believe from what I've seen that in many cases the teachers are not able to actually grade them correctly and they don't want to be caught. It would be embarrassing and more of a hassle. And I think the principals are guarding their teachers whatever it takes because they can't get more. I had one kid, a bunch of kids in math too, one year before the pandemic where they had no teacher for the entire year. So this is not a pandemic problem per se. It's the pay's bad, and the environment for the teachers is not great either. So I don't want to rip on the teachers. There's a few. The situation is they have some math teachers who've been around a long time and are very good. Most of them are burned out, pissed off, and not really teaching anymore. There are occasionally some good ones. They usually don't last long. Sometimes your math teacher is the gym teacher who is sort of upgraded. Maybe not to the benefit of anyone. But the real problem is we're not paying our teachers. The pay schedule is ridiculous and it's not being upgraded. There is no law that prevents the district from paying teachers more. Just because the state isn't making them pay more is not an excuse. You can go through town hall, just walk through, and you will find plenty of people not doing anything. I had one person quit a friend of mine quit who worked at town hall. He couldn't stand not doing anything for more than an hour a day. The assumption was you were going to read the paper and nobody was going to talk about it. So I know they have a lot of this problem. And if you talk to the school board, you will get a big runaround about this. They will talk about all sorts of political things. They will make you feel bad for not doing or thinking something. But the point is, you just need to teach the kids, and you got to pay the teachers to do it. And we really have reached a point of profound shame that we're not doing it in this, I assume, richest district in the entire state. And everybody's in quiet denial about it, at least among public officials. I have lots of parents coming to me with kids in high school who say nobody's teaching my kid. And if your kid says this, I would encourage you to take it seriously. There is a good chance it's true. I know kids exaggerate and push off blame for themselves and don't want to take responsibility, but it's often true. I know one situation recently of a kid in a class of 35 or more students. They had two teachers. One left after a while because, of course, pay was ridiculous and he needed to support himself. And this other new teacher had to run the whole class himself because they can't even get subs, much less more teachers. So he takes videos of this class sometimes. This one teacher was hiding behind his desk as students were throwing pencils and binders at him, and he was calling for the office for support. That's not a effective environment. I don't want to rip on any of these teachers. They've been put in an impossible situation, and it's our fault. So if you have strong feelings about education and something going on in a school, and your first thought is not how do we find better compensation and support for our teachers, you're off base. You're missing something, and I hate to say it. There are other factors involved. One is the education departments. That's not just federal, that's state, that's university education departments. They're all kind of one connected fungal mass. And basically they have been sucking students out of topical degree programs and pushing them into education programs. And I always challenge people to say, what do you think somebody learns with a 4-year education degree? I mean, do you want your English teacher to have an English degree and maybe get some support with teaching if that's needed? I mean, not everybody needs teaching education to be a good teacher. But if you strip away those people, those, money-making clients for these departments, and run them through that, they don't get the other stuff. And so Bloom's theory of grading is of limited value from what I've seen. But somebody who's knowledgeable and passionate about their subject is irreplaceable. So It reminds me of what happened with massage therapy in North Carolina some years ago when they decided to bring in certification. So they had to create a board, and the only people with time to spend on the board worked at a massage school, one in particular called BTI. And then, you know, and they passed all these certification rules that you need continuing education to be a good massage therapist. And of course, you'll have to pay for those classes at probably BTI. And a while ago, those owners of BTI, I think, retired to Hawaii. Period. That's sort of what's happened in academia too. And these poor would-be teachers have been sucked through a lot of worthless education courses instead of developing the more rigorous thinking and knowledge that would make them compelling teachers. Um, not that I can change that, but I can mouth off about it, and maybe something will happen someday. um, but anyway, I'm still doing this, and I'm happy to consult with people if they've got issues with their kids or placement of their kids or regular support they need for their kids or preemptive support they need for their kids before they get to the next level, or attempts to pass the CDM, which can be done. It's a hard bar, but it can be done, and or just ways to make this a more fun, engaging piece of your life. So I am available for math classes pretty much all the way through most of college. I mean, there are areas I wouldn't touch. I wouldn't do topology. But, calculus, differential equations, up through that, I can certainly help. But there's physics. I can do physics. I was a physics PhD, so that was my background. I can do chemistry and AP Stats. And I can provide referrals for other areas. So one of the most exceptional things about the district are the students. The school, well, it's a nice building, and there's some good stuff there. But as has happened in some other countries, people who want quality educations have to supplement it themselves. And I often have some pro bono students. I can't have all pro bono students or, students at discounted rates, but I do what I can to support people who don't have means. So if this sounds interesting to you and you want to seek that out or communicate more or organize some way to take over the school board or force some sort of change in the way we compensate our teachers and the discussion surrounding that, I would be very happy to talk to you.